Hello and welcome to the Nerdstop. I am Kenny, and for the past 4 years, I have been doing solo runs in Pokémon Platinum. I have decided to just start recording and editing them up. You have probably seen them on shorts, or maybe not, and you just found me in the algorithm. The way I do my runs, the rules are no items in battles, no major glitches or exploits, but I do use fast forward as well as PK Hex in order to expedite the process of how I go about receiving eggs. Why do the eggs matter? Well, I'm glad you asked. The way that I differ from most other Pokemon soloists is that I allow an egg move to be used, or a move that is in its level up set later on, because two Pokemon that breed together with the same move will pass said egg move down. Introductions out of the way. My first solo run that I chose for my first upload here is Chinchou, a water and electric type. Chinchou has a surprisingly good typing for the game, and gets good coverage. Chinchou's base stats are surprisingly decent for a first form Pokemon as well. As we can see, it carries a great speed stat for the game, as well as a large health pool, with higher special defense than physical defense. Also, it has an attack stat. But we're never using that stat. Sorry, spoilers. Now, the egg move for Chinchou, I feel is pretty easy to decide between all of these moves. Only one will come in handy for an immediate threat that we will get into very quickly. By this time, I have shown that we have chosen Piplup as our starter, received the Pokedex, and have gone to PK Hex. We choose Modest Nature to further boost our special attack and lower our already irrelevant attack stat. Not putting it into speed because we have enough to outspeed almost everything we need to. I then randomized Chinchou's IVs in order for them to be good to great, but never too good, because I want to simulate a Chinchou that is at least likely to get in a regular game. I also allow one perfect IV to represent the power items that you get in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And by this point, we should have Chinchou from the PC. So let's go ahead and speed things up to the second berry fight. And that was the second berry fight. The fight is a foreshadowing of a strategy that I will explain later. We go through with no problems through the route, Orberg Gate and Orberg Mine not giving us any issues either. We then head up north of Orberg City to catch a Machop. We then take this Machop to this house and trade it to this girl. Doing so, we obtain Kaza, the Abra, who is essential for something specific, as well as holding an Oran Berry. This is the first available berry and the second held item that has an effect in battle. We go into the gym and take out the trainers in order to not waste any easy experience, which is at a premium at this point in the game. Now we have Rourke. He starts out the battle sending out Geodude, and we send out Chinchou. We use Water Gun, and it one-shots the Geodude. He sends out Onix. We use Water Gun. He sends out Cranidos, who actually survives the Water Gun, uses Pursuit, and does a decent chuck, but I just said a decent chunk. It does a decent chunk, but it isn't enough, giving us the Coal Badge. Instead of healing or instantly heading towards back to Orberg Gate, we go north, go to Abra, and after taking off the Oran Berry, teleport out, performing what I call the Berry Skip. Passing the unnecessary dialogue and going to Jubilife City. After a skirmish with some Team Galactic grunts, who we defeat with the help of Dawn, we handily defeat them and are allowed to head north to the small cave that I forget the name of, to Floraroma Town. This child's dad has been taken by Team Galactic and forced to work very long hours, which admittedly sound like what regular working class people do, honestly. However, we are against people who do not employ us, making us do this, so I will destroy them. After getting a key from a salty grunt who can't take his loss, we head in and run into the boss. Facing off against Team Galactic's Mars, who, real talk, makes a deal with the kid who didn't say anything, agreeing to leave if he beats her. She bodies us for a bit and has me grind for a bit before coming back at a higher level in order to actually deal damage to her. Zubat goes down easily to an Ice Beam. Now comes in Perky, one of the fastest Pokemon that exists in all of Gen 4. It uses Fake Out, causing us to flinch, and we take a scratch, allowing us to be dirty and use Thunder Wave. We then become Menaces and use Confuse Ray, and this is where I'll explain the strategy that I used earlier, Berry. Parafusion. When a Pokemon is paralyzed, it has a 25% chance to just not attack. Confusion itself is a 50% chance to hit itself in confusion, giving a good chance for Perky to not attack and instead hurt itself. Now back to Perky, we watch it hit itself every single time. After that skillful win, we free this man from the clutches of evil and head our way to Eternal Forest, battling everyone because the next fight is going to be a very difficult one. In the forest, we meet Cheryl, who is lost, so we help her. There is nothing notable here, so let's just head ahead to Eterna City. The gym trainers didn't provide much challenge, most of them being part poison type, making them really vulnerable to Psybeam. Gardenia leads off with Turtwig, and I use Psybeam, watching it use Razor Reflect. Yeah, it uses a move that allows it to take half from physical moves, which we don't have any because, you know. However, that is not enough for us, and we are overwhelmed. I then open up PK Hex to change my EVs, instead of trading to another game where I would do the exact same thing, doing our EV training here. I opt to add my EVs to my currently existing ones. I don't lower my other EVs because we are not yet at a point where in the game where we would have an EV reduction berry, which was my criteria to EV train whenever I did my runs on full hardware. Now, after several attempts where Gardenia just kicks her ass, we get the run. She leads off with Turtwig, and I send in Chinchou. I have Chinchou use Psybeam, and she uses Reflect again, allowing me to KO Turtwig with yet another Psybeam. Next comes Cherim, who threatens us majorly with passive effects like Leech Seed. We get a critical hit, and it uses Safeguard. I believe that this was a damage roll that was in our favor to just 2-hit KO. So I believe the crit, not KOing, was a bad damage roll for us. Gardenia uses a Super Potion, and after 2 more Psybeams, Cherim goes down. The Reflect wears off, which I don't know why that's important. And in comes her ace, Roserade. We use Psybeam and get Roserade down to the Citrus Band. Roserade then goes for Stun Spore, paralyzing our Chinchou. And now that it outspeeds Chinchou, Roserade uses Magical Leap and brings our beloved Anglerfish down to 38 HP, activating our Oranberry, putting us in a range to live another Magical Leap if we are fully paralyzed. However, we do not fully paralyze, and we use Psybeam, taking out Roserade, winning the battle, and obtaining us the Forest Badge. Next, we go to the Team Galactic Eterna building, where they stole a Clefairy and Baneri, because reasons. I feel like this branch of Team Galactic isn't really doing anything, and Jupiter proves so by being super easy. Nothing important really happens on the way to Home City, so let's just head on there. Once we're in Heart Home City, we go to this building and see our best friend in the whole world, Shroomish, who isn't even in this region dex and isn't in another region other than Hoenn natively until Gen 9 in Paldea. We go to Amity Square and get the amulet coin, then go to the contest hall where our mom gives us a tuxedo that we never use because we are not interested in contests. We then talk to Fantina, who says some shit, and then goes back to her gym. We deposit Piplup in the PC, because it's outlived its usefulness, and go into the gym. We avoid every single trainer, allowing us to go up against the gym leader, Fantina. We send in our Chinchou and she leads off with Duskull. We opt for a much stronger Bubble Beam that we got, and she goes for Future Sight. Fantina heals again, and I go for Psybeam, predicting a possible switch or something, and then finish Duskull off with another Bubble Beam. After I deliberate a bit on teaching Signal Beam, I choose not to because I couldn't think of anything that'd be threatening between now and Pistorius City. She then sends in her ace, Ms. Magius. We then go for another trusted Bubble Beam, taking a good chunk off of its HP and getting the speed drop. However, we are hit by Confuse Ray, giving us a taste of our own medicine. I then Bubble Beam Miss Magius to Citrus Berry range, and it uses Magical Leaf, which doesn't quite bring us to 50%. We fight through confusion and take out the ace with another Bubble Beam. Fantina finally brings Haunter out, who I am not threatened by because it only has physical attacking moves. I fight through another confusion and land a Psybeam, hitting Haunter for big damage. But not just big damage, a one-shot for Chinchou. After that gym badge, we take Chinchou and head on down to this connecting building or whatever, and run into Barry. And after teaching Substitute, we beat him handedly and progress onward to Salacion Town, which we breeze on by to head to Veilstone City. We taught Discharge in lieu of Thunderwave, get the coin case to obtain the Wide Lens in case we need to rely on Hydro Pump later on. Which, spoiler alert, we never wound up doing because Chinchou's good. Nothing really too exciting happens during the gym, so let's just get to Maylene. Metatite uses Fake Out, causing us to flinch. We then go for Substitute as Metatite uses Rock Tomb, which our Substitute does not get broken by. Lucario comes up next, and he outspeeds us and goes for Drain Punch, which breaks the sub. We then Discharge and get the Paralysis. Now, I'm going to be transparent, but I was stuck on Maylene for like 10 tries without Discharge paralyzing, and Discharge is pretty reliable, paralyzing 30% of the time. That's about the same odds as a Scald Burn in modern times, but it just wasn't cooperating. We then knock out Machoke easily with Psybeam, being the final great use of Psybeam, serving us well. After another double battle with Grunts featuring Dawn, we get Fly and go south to Pistorius City, where we have another fight with Barry. This one being frustrating because I didn't want to go and buy the TM for Blizzard, because I didn't want to have to rely on the 70% chance to hit, but I relinquished and decided, why not? It's only a 30% chance to miss, so we teach Blizzard and get this battle on the way. We set up a Substitute, and Barry has Staravia use Double Team, which was a bit annoying here. We miss our next Discharge, and then land the other one, and move on to Growl, the sub giving us another attempt at Blizzard in case it missed. However, we connect the hit, and that does it for this fight because Ponyta and Weasel are bad against water and electric moves respectively. We now face off against Crasher Wake, who isn't much to speak of. We one-shot Gyarados with Discharge, get hit by Quagsire's Mud Shot as we two-shot with Blizzard and Bubble Beam, then get a chunk taken out of us by Floatzel's Crunch. However, because of our good HP pool, we tank it, land Discharge, and obtain the Fin Badge. We then hear that a goon has a bomb and then explodes it in the Great Marsh. We chase after this deviant for shooting his liquid everywhere, and because he is exhausted after a massive climax, we easily catch up to him. We beat his Krogunk and are sent on a quest to give some medicine to Psyduck. After this, we are assigned to yet another quest to give a charm to some old lady by this blonde woman who we met in Eterna. She is not important. Nothing bad happens on the way to Celestic Town. Nothing bad. Once we reach there, because I cannot figure out how to change the time on my computer to be what it is on the emulator I'm using, I put a choice specs in to achieve the same effect. I don't consider this a major exploit because who didn't abuse the clock to get the items that they wanted as a kid? I just felt like I'm just doing a similar thing here to save some time instead of having to wait like 12 real-time hours to get the item that I want. We then fight Cyrus, who dies to discharge spam with our specs. And this old lady gives us the HM for Surf, the best move that Chinchou will have for the rest of this run. The blonde lady tells us to go to Candelave, and we do, after we grab a few rare candies throughout the region that have just been unlocked. After we arrive in Candelave, we head over to this bridge, and now we fight against Barry, who now has a lot of his Pokemon to be evolved. And this happens to be a good thing for us, because Grottle has evolved into Torterra, a grass and ground type, meaning that it no longer resists water. We are free to just surf it and KO, because it doesn't have a special defense stat. Heracross then marks itself as the new #big threat for Chinchou, having a good special defense and good attack stat to hit our weaker defense. Win this battle, and then head on to Candelave Gym. The gym was easy, Byron was easy. That's all you need to know. We then head to the library, and the Gooner from earlier must have taken the blue pill because there is yet another, yet bigger, ejaculation from Lake Valor. Professor Rowan tells us to go there, so we do. There are a bunch of Magikarp dying on the land because of the bomb. We fight the culprit, Saturn, who we bury, and move on to Lake Verity. Rowan tells us that Dawn has been kidnapped, so we fight our way to see Mars, the bitch from the windmill who made that girl's dad work unpaid overtime while not even being his boss. We body her again, this time because we have access to a move stronger than 40 base power on stab and a 60 power non-stab move. We hear that Barry hasn't been heard from, then fly back to Celestic Town and enter Route 216, which has my favorite song in the entire point of the game. Once we enter Snow Point, we heal, go to the gym, and face off against the second hardest fight in the run. Or it would have been had I not found out that when Sneasel's health is in red, and after Candace heals it, she automatically switches into Abomasnow. And this means that when this happens, I can just use Blizzard, which does enough to put it just over half health, meaning that I can two-shot it without a care in the world. I then take out Piloswine, Sneasel, who she sends in again, then face off against her ace, Frostlass, a frail Pokemon that has an ability to get +1 evasion when inhaled. She then opts to use Double Team, getting yet another stage of evasion. However, we land the Surf, then she opts to attack with Shadow Ball, dropping our special defense. So if we miss this Surf, we lose the battle. Chinchou clutches up and smacks the Ice Ghost type with Surf, winning us the Icicle Badge. After we hear Barry whine after losing to Juniper, we go to Veilstone City and infiltrate Team Galactic's headquarters. We have our second confrontation with Cyrus, and yet again, sweep him with Choice Spec Discharge. After freeing the Lake Trio because Saturn is incompetent, we go to Oreburgh City and begin our ascent up to the top of Mount Coronet. We have a double battle where we take out Beryl, who I forgot to add to the party on screen for the longest time, and then move on to the multi-battle. Sometimes Barry really comes in clutch. And there's other times where he's just the worst partner ever. And then there are other times where he's just kinda there. Let's see how he is this time. Mars and Jupiter lead off with their own Bronzor respectively, and they typically go for dual screens, allowing them to have the damage from both physical and special attackers alike. I opt to use choice specs to get the most damage out of Surf because it's not resisted by anything, and felt it could be fun. So, let's fight it out and rate Barry's performance on a scale of 1 to 10 in the comment section below. After the battle, I go back to Mount Coronet, level up once. That way I can use rare candies without worrying about wasting experience. Efficiency with rare candies is important late in the game to make sure that we get the most bang for our buck on them. During this point, we go through the Distortion World and make our way to the penultimate fight against Cyrus. And I just want to say thank you so much for watching this far. I have been streaming for 6 years, coming this point this year, and I've only recently been able to make better quality stuff. That way I don't have to stream off my PS4 or my old laptop that was not built for playing games. The whole thing has been a great experience, and I hope that you find me at least a little bit entertaining. Anyways, let's move on to that fight against Cyrus so we can finish off the evil of apathy and cynicism once and for all, proving that we can indeed make the world a better place, one anglerfish at a time. Cyrus, we go and capture Giratina, and then the random blonde chick who we keep seeing tells us to go talk to Professor Rowan. So we go there, then we head on to Sunny Shore City, and are immediately met with this guy, Flint, who is the boyfriend of the gym leader, and felt our aura, and then decided only we would be able to knock Volkner down a peg. We go to the lighthouse where he says some angsty shit, and then go to the gym. Nothing big happens, it's pretty easy for an electric type in this gym. So let's just go ahead and get on with our fight against Volkner. He sends out Jolteon, and we give Chinchou her shining moment. Get behind the substitute. Jolteon uses Thunder Wave, and Volt Absorb comes in handy, healing us near full health. Jolteon then uses Quick Attack, and we hit it with Surf, putting it into healing range. I put it back into the red with another Surf, and it breaks Substitute with a Quick Attack before we take it out with another Surf. Volkner's Ace, Electivire, comes in, and I use Substitute again as it uses Giga Impact. I use Surf as it recharges, putting us into a winning position after it eats its Citrus Berry. Chinchou knocks it out with another Surf, then Luxray comes in, and we do a lot of damage with Surf. Luxray gets a critical hit with Crunch. Volkner heals it again as our Surf puts it into red once more, allowing us to knock out the Luxray. Raichu is the final Pokemon. We hit it with Surf and nearly one-shot it. It hits Focus Blast, but we hold on and knock it out with another Surf. We obtained a Beacon Badge for our 8th and final one. We go through Victory Road, only having a bit of issue with a couple trainers. The Ace Trainer with a Blissey, who's always a bit of an issue for special attackers. And then we had the veteran with Tangrowth who required Blizzard to actually hit. Shocking. Now we go into the final section of the game, going up against the 6 final trainers. We start off with Barry. He leads with Staraptor, and we send in our contender. We start the fight off by firing off our new move that we obtained from Volkner, Charge Beam. A 50 base power, 90 accuracy move that has a 70% chance to raise your special attack by 1 stage. We get the boost, and we one-shot Staraptor. Torterra gets sent out next, and I go for Surf, not wanting to chance missing Blizzard, and we find out that it's a one-shot. Snorlax comes in, we use Charge Beam, get our second boost, and Snorlax lands an Earthquake, putting us in danger of being knocked out if Heracross is up next. We finish Snorlax off with Surf, and the next Pokemon up is Heracross. And to my surprise, we one-shot Heracross with Surf, easing my worries of the remaining two Pokemon, Floatzel, who goes down to Charge Beam, and Rapidash, who simply faints to Surf, beating Barry once and for all. After a quick heal and buying some full restores for in between the battles, it is time to begin the Elite Four. First up is Aaron, who sends in Yanmega. Chinchou is put into the scene and uses Charge Beam, one-shotting it. Heracross is up next, and I opt to use Surf, which does a big deal of damage, while he misses Mega Horn. This gives me an idea for the future. Aaron heals up, I use Charge Beam and get the boost and knock out Heracross with Surf. Vespiquen is up next, and we use Charge Beam and get the buff, but not KOing, and we use Surf to finish the job following its attack order. We wash Scizor and Drapion up with Surf, winning the battle. Then we go to Bertha, and I equip Choice Specs, figuring I'd go all in on Surf here for the fight. I use a rare candy to get a damage roll update. Levels that end in 0, 3, 5, and 8 all give your damage rolls a modifier for some reason. I don't know why this is a thing, but it is. I assume it's always been a thing, but if I'm wrong, let me know down below, while Bertha goes down easily to the strategy of only pressing the A button to attack. Flint is next, and I decide to not change strategies and choose to do an impression of another solo runner. This bit was so cringe that I decided just to cut it. Don't worry, you're not missing anything. Yeah, it was that bad. I'm sorry. We finish the battle on a level up, so I choose to get up to level 73 to get another damage roll update, sending us to the battle against last Elite Four member, Lucian. We lead the fight against Lucian off against Mr. Mime and hit a Charge Beam, but we don't get the buff, then we miss it. Then we hit it and get hit by Psychic. We set the substitute up to no avail because Psychic breaks it, and then finally knock out Mime. This was very messy, and Alakazam comes in, and if I EV train properly, I should outspeed... Oh no. It seems I was mistaken. That's okay. I'll just get back to where I was, and then get the speed to move ahead of Alakazam. I decide to experiment and choose to put Specs on Chinchou for Aaron, figuring why not? Surf one-shots Yanmega, Heracross, it doesn't knock out Vespiquen, who only uses Defend Order and then gets fully healed. But it is still a two-shot, so we don't take any damage, and Scizor and Drapion remain washed up, showing that this is indeed the strategy to make these three members as trivial as possible. I'm not going to show you Bertha or Flint, I'm sure you can imagine the exact same as last time. Now that we are back to Lucian, it is time to rethink strategy. I choose to go Specs Surf, in case the simple answer was the right one to make. And we one-shot Mime, one-shot Alakazam, then we do a good chunk to Gallade, and it uses Psycho Cut, which looks to take us out, but we are living by 1 HP. We're out of this. No way that anything could punish us at all. Bronzong comes in, we land Surf, and it one-shots with a crit. We are not getting punished at all. Espeon comes out, we choose to use Surf, Espeon uses Quick Attack, winning us the fight, and wait a minute, that's not right. So yeah, the Surf strategy will not work, even if the crit didn't matter against Bronzong, which I personally believe that it did. I finally choose to do the smart thing, and then get Chinchou to the level where it speed ties Alakazam, and we go into the battle once more. We start off hitting Charge Beam and getting the boost. We use it again after Mr. Mime uses Light Screen, getting another boost. Mime hits us with Psychic, and it gets the special defense drop. I contemplate resetting because I thought rest and I wanted to use it, but I figured why not see this to the end to see what happens. After Lucian heals, we go forward again, getting another special attack boost, and then finish Mime off with another one, getting the boost, putting us up at +4. We then win the speed tie and one-shot Alakazam with Surf. Light screen wears off just in time for Gallade to come in, and now it's easy landing Surf against it, Bronzong, and Espeon to win the fight and putting us against the champion. Now it's time to face off against the strongest trainer in all of Sinnoh. I wonder who it could be. Wait a minute, it's that random blonde woman who we have seen through this whole journey? Say it ain't so. Now, that bit's probably getting old, so I'll do my shut up and dribble moment here. Cynthia usually is the hardest trainer for any solo run to go through. She leads off with Spiritomb, a Pokemon that until Gen 6 had no weaknesses and had very good defensive stats. We start the fight off by shooting a Charge Beam, getting our first buff, and taking a critical hit Dark Pulse. I land another Charge Beam, getting a second boost, healing a bit from Shell Bell, and live another one. Cynthia heals, and I fire another beam, receiving the benefits. I fire off another Charge Beam, receiving the benefits, and she switches in Garchomp, much like Candace did earlier. It eats the Charge Beam up due to its electric immunity, but it isn't faster, so it gets drowned by Surf. Up next is Roserade, who I decide to use Surf against, hoping it'd be enough. It isn't, and we take a Sludge Bomb, losing us the fight. I will admit, I do save in front of Cynthia in order to allow myself a bit more flexibility, but I only do it when I know that I'm using RNG to eventually win, or if I know that the run is consistent enough to justify it. For Chinchou, I thought I would wind up using Rest, but it never wound up making a difference. So I teach Ice Beam over it and head back against Cynthia. We use Charge Beam and get the buff, eat a Shadow Ball, fire another beam, get the buff, eat a Shadow Ball. Then Cynthia heals. We use Charge Beam and get the buff yet again. I decide now that she's going to do the thing Candace does again, and it's pretty safely to assume the switch is happening, even if it wasn't Ice Beam with KO Spiritomb. But I did choose right, and Cynthia goes right into Garchomp, making it a sure thing one-shot for its 4x weakness to Ice. Up next is Roserade, and because we have Ice Beam, we use that instead of Surf, knocking it out. Bringing up third is Spiritomb, who we use Charge Beam on and get the boost. Up next, Lucario, who we one-shot with Surf, and then it comes to Togekiss, who we also one-shot with Surf. Cynthia brings in her final Pokemon, Milotic. It can go for Mirror Coat, so I decide to play it safe and use Substitute, as it does just that. I then use Charge Beam, which winds up being a one-shot anyways, winning us the battle and the run. It is at this time where I realize that the HM friends are still on screen, so I decide to remove them while the cutscene of us going up the elevator plays. This run was really fun, and I cannot wait to see how we did. I personally feel like Chinchou did really well for the whole thing. My mistake with EVs really was pretty embarrassing. But even with that, Chinchou finishes with a time of 747. And at level 76, this means that Chinchou is getting placed 4th on our list. It definitely felt a bit better than Spoink, I think, but Spoink, in my opinion, has just too good of a time to really justify having Chinchou over it. However, the run definitely is deserving of its top 5 placement currently. At this moment, I don't know my next soloist, because my solo runs are decided in the way that Arceus would have intended. I draw them out of booster packs, and whatever Pokemon are eligible, I run them in order of them being drawn. It is a fun way to use my love of collecting cards as a way to incorporate it into my favorite game in the entire series. I would also like to shout out MahDryBread and JRose11 for being my inspirations to start doing these solo runs. Also, a huge shout out must go to Perky Penguin for helping me out with figuring out moves and stuff all these, I think, 3 years that I've been talking to him. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you a lot. I do play other games, and I do stream on Twitch, so if you feel like it, come check me out. The link is in the description below. Heck, I did these runs on Twitch, and I'm probably going to go back to doing that, and then just chopping them up, like what I should have done for this. If you've stuck around to the end, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I hope that you'll come back to the Nerdstop. This has been Kenny, and I'll see you soon!